I'm going to now let me see what happens here. Okay, good. I am now going to tell you, because we're not having a service tomorrow. So I'm going to tell you what's on my mind tomorrow, tonight. You're going to get a preview as to what's on my mind tomorrow, tonight. So how do you like that? Okay. Let me uh, first of all, thank you all for coming. Very nice. Okay, so I have a question. This is a good question to have on my mind. It's a really good question. What do you think a human being is worth? You want to know the answer? I actually have it. The actual value of the basic chemical compounds that make up a human being today, with current inflation applied, I'm not cheating, taking it all into consideration, is $129 for the oxygen, $384 for the carbon, $35 for the hydrogen, $7.20 for the nitrogen, $200 for the calcium, and $234 for the phosphorus. Okay, I hope you were adding, because I did, and I'm going to tell you right now, you add all that up, it's not a whole lot of money. A human being and its chemicals is worth a mere $989.20. Isn't that something? That's all we're worth, less than $1,000. But what about the value of us, not as chemicals, but as complete human beings? Because that's what we are. We're more than chemicals. We're complete human beings. What's our value? Is it possible to place a monetary value on that? Is there any way to figure out the actual value of a human being? Well, for those who followed along with today's Torah reading, which you didn't, because we didn't read it, but if we had, there's an answer in there, and it's at the end, right at the end. The answer we get, unfortunately, I don't know anybody that likes. It's a horrible answer. It appears in the final words as we end the book of Vayikra, this book of Torah. The Torah tells us that a person who wanted to contribute to the Holy Temple could do so by vowing to give the equivalent of that person's monetary value. Okay, so who sets the value? The Torah does. The Torah sets a person's value, and it's based on two factors. Again, you're not going to like this: age and gender. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Are the wokes getting upset with me right now? Remember, I didn't write the Torah. I'm just telling you what it says. Anyway, for instance, the value of males between 20 and 60 is 60 shekels. I'm sorry, 50 shekels. Between 20 and 60 years old, 50 shekels. Women or females of the same age, 20 to 60, isn't 50 shekels, it's only 30 shekels. And that's full 20 shekels less than the same age group of men. The value of a person who is 60 is even less: 15 shekels for males and 10 for females, and so on. So remember that I just told you that nobody would like this. So I'm not expecting you to jump up and down and argue with me and say, oh, I do. No, you don't. Nobody likes this. That is because in today's world, everybody wins a participation trophy. Everybody wins. The notion of placing monetary values on individuals based on age and gender flies in the face of all modern sensibilities. So regardless, the fact remains, we all do have value. How we measure the value is a whole nother story altogether. So in the extent of the way we live, how can we do this? You know, for some reason, and I have no idea why, a few weeks ago, I found myself watching an episode of the newer version of Roots. I had never seen it before, so I have no idea why I wanted to watch it, but it was interesting. So I thought, let me try it. Like the original version, it shows how at that time in our history, America measured a person's value by gender, age, and race. The idea of buying and selling human beings is considered horrible in today's America. But back then, no, it wasn't. It was commonplace. Even so, no matter how distasteful we find buying or selling our fellow human beings is, I have to ask you, don't we still do this today? We use a variety of value factors such as age, income, productivity, education, intellectual capacity, athletic ability, and yes, sometimes ethnicity or skin color or the length of hair, the number of tattoos and skin piercings, and so many other things that influence us. Seems to be never ending. Unfortunately, we do not have to look very far to see that human trafficking is more common than any of us want to admit. People are bought and sold for all kinds of things. Human trafficking is a horrible thing. And while the oldest profession is an obvious example of this, what about professional sports figures? Aren't we doing that to them? In business, people are hired and people are fired based on their perceived value in dollars and cents at the time. Yet, in theory at least, we like to believe, we fool ourselves, that since all human beings are created in the image of God, we're all equal. Huh. We would like to believe that no human being should ever be worth more than another. I have a news bulletin. Ding, 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 ding. It ain't so. So, in what context should we take this strange law that we read in today's Torah reading, this Shabbat's Torah reading? What should we do? Furthermore, why does the Torah wait until the very end of the third book of Torah to present it to us? Does this not seem really strange? The answer might be that the Torah is attempting to show the relative value of each of us in the context of what we had just read. And what is that? We had just heard from the Torah, what I explained, a list of some of the most beautiful blessings and the most horrific curses known as the Tochacha. I explained that earlier during the service. And they are imposed on us for how we follow God's laws. And I told you, they're all measurable. They don't tell us Oh, you're going to go to hell if you're bad. How do you measure that? Or, oh, if you're good, you're going to heaven. How do you measure that? But if all of you are bad and Am Yisrael does not follow God's laws, the Torah says we're in trouble. If we follow God's laws, we will be blessed with prosperity, well-being, and security. But when we reject God's commandments, it's quite a different story. We will be cursed with hunger, plagues, and exile. And don't tell me our history isn't full of that. I do not know about you, but if I had written this book of Torah, I probably would have closed it out with the list, not with the value of a person. Why follow those with how much we should value human beings? Does that make any sense? Not to me, really. Okay, so let us look at these blessings and these curses. Let's look at them. Did anyone notice that they're all, maybe you didn't, I'm going to tell you, they're all listed in the plural. In other words, they are not meant to be a promise or a warning to individual people. Rather, it is aimed at the entire people, Israel. We need to understand that God does not judge us based on our individual actions, but how we and the rest of our people behave together. If a few people commit adultery or murder, okay, that's one thing. It's inexcusable, but that's one thing. But if Am Yisrael accepts those actions as being okay, that's quite another thing altogether. If this book of Torah would end without talking about the value of the individual, it would leave us to believe that what you and I do would have no meaning. We would be left with thinking that it is only what we do as a group that is being judged for reward and punishment. These laws make sure we know that each and every human being has value, period. Each of us has something to contribute to the welfare of the community as a whole. So these laws of valuation, troubling as they are to the modern ear, challenge us to think about what value you and I bring to society. They challenge us to think about what kind of difference we can make. They challenge us to rethink what the real value of each of us is. The actual value the Torah puts on each of us is not the point. Interesting, but not the point. We should not let that confuse us. The point is, we all have value, and depending on what we are doing with our potential, that is what really matters. I would like to think that the Torah is presenting an arbitrary model to force us to think about what we have to do to make ourselves more valuable to others. Sometimes we forget to consider the importance of what we as individuals bring to the community. I'm reminded of the story of the people of Chelm. I know you all know the story of Chelm, and I know you know the kind of people they are. This is a story I love to tell. In case there's somebody here that's never heard of Chelm, our tradition positions the people of Chelm as fools, even though the Chelamites themselves are extremely wise. And if you don't believe me, ask them. I mean, when you hear their stories. So one of the shuls in Chelm had a large barrel in which they kept wine for Shabbat Kiddush. One day, the rabbi who was, by the way, just as wise as all of his congregants, in other words, forget about it, noticed that the barrel was almost empty. On that Shabbat, he asked for each person to bring a pitcher of wine and to pour it into the barrel. In that way, everyone would equally contribute to the communal kiddush. He thought that was a great idea, and everybody went along with it. Gimple the Brain Trust was the first to come. He thought, what difference will my little pitcher of wine make in that big barrel? I think I'll fill my pitcher with water, so when I pour it in, it will mix with the wine and no one will know the difference. Yenta Telebenda was next, and she too brought a pitcher of water to the barrel, thinking that nothing would be lost with a little water mixed with the wine. Then came Chaim and Sprinze and Moshe and Yankev and Malke and Baruch and every other Chelamite came and brought their pitchers to the barrel, and every single one of them had a pitcher filled with nothing but pure water. Finally, Shabbos came, Friday night. Maybe this is why I didn't want to do Kiddush here. I didn't want to find the barrel of water. The barrel of wine was full of water, but the rabbi opens the barrel, and boy, was he shocked to find it was filled to the top with water. To this very day, it remains a mystery to the citizens of Chelm how that barrel of wine turned into water. Anyway, the point of this is obvious. While no one can assess the real value of a human being, every one of us can make a powerful difference only if we do the right thing. We do the wrong thing, you see what happens too. Each of us has something to contribute to the welfare of all. When we hold back or assume that I alone can make no difference, we lower the value of ourselves and the rest of our community. It is not so much what we give, but how much we are willing to give of ourselves that makes the most important difference. By the way, maybe you've heard of Sir Moshe Montefiore. He was a wealthy British 19th century Jew. And he was asked by a rather rude person what he was worth. Moshe Montefiore answered, 20,000 pounds. Not to be dissuaded, the man responded, Sir, Moshe, surely you're worth more than that. Everyone knows that you are one of the richest men in the world. Moshe Montefiore answered, my good man, I think I misunderstood you. You asked me how much I am worth, not how much money I have. This year, I gave 20,000 pounds to charity. That is what I am worth. A person's worth is measured not by what's in his pocket, but by what a person gives to others. So the real question is not what those ads that ask, what's in your wallet? The real question is, what have you done for others today? What you did is your value. And that is what the Torah is trying to teach. And I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.